Hello and welcome to allpointstv.com, Briona's Legacy. My name is Sam Jahari and thank you for joining us today. Briona's Legacy, it's like, who was Briona and why is it Briona's Legacy? Briona Jahari, she was born October 9th, 1993. One of the happiest days of my life. That was my first child, and she was just... she was everything, I didn't really know what love was till the day she was born. And, loving my daughter, through it and stuff, I found out that, her mom had gone back to the drug scene. Really, to be honest with you, I didn't really know much about drugs and all that stuff. I just thought it was a matter of choice, But with Briona, she was a very happy child. But, because her mom was an addict and she was in and out of, either prison or rehabs or, treatment centers and stuff like that, she was always worried about her. Excuse me. So, through it all, I would take Briona to the rehabs or, the county jail or whatever, so she would be part of her life. Before we got to that, 3 years into it, that Briona was 3 years old, that I really found out that Tina was, an addict, and she was back doing the drugs really hard. And I knew at that point that I needed to get married and settle down so I would have a home to bring Briona to. I knew that as a father by myself, I wasn't going to be able to get custody of her. So, I was talking to my dad, and God rest his soul, I was telling him, I said, Dad, I really need to get Briona away from her mom. She's having a lot of problems and stuff, and she's back using. And, he says, well, you tried it all, son. Why don't you try your culture? And it was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm all in for that. So we ended up going, I'm Lebanese, so we ended up going to Lebanon. And, 3 weeks into this, it wasn't working, it's kind of weird. It's like they tell you, oh, there's a young lady that's not married at this house. So, you go and visit, and, they treat you to coffee or watermelon or whatever, and you get to see this girl. And then, in a way you say, well, if you like to come back or you like what you've seen, I guess, you see if there's an opportunity or if this girl has somebody in her life, that it's not out in the open yet. So anyways, 3 weeks into this, it wasn't working. And it was like, Dad, I said, I'm ready to go home. I miss my daughter. I just started my closet company, and I think I need to go back home, My daddy's like, you never really seen Lebanon. Let me just show you the Lebanon and, how nice it is and stuff like that. And I said, well, this was a Saturday. And I told my dad, I says, come Monday, Dad, I'm going to go change my ticket, and I'm going to get out of this country. I'm going to go back home, Anyways, I had a cousin that was getting married. So they had an engagement party for him that night. And, I decided to go to this party, and wasn't really thinking. I was done, or I threw it out the window, the part about getting married and stuff. I didn't see how people fall in love that quick and get married, and anyways, it's not because I hadn't tried before and it didn't work. It just, so we're at this point, we're at this party, and my dad's telling me, oh, this one, she wants to meet you, and this one, she wants to meet you. And I'm like, Dad, I'm done. It's not that I wasn't up for for this, but it didn't seem like my heart was opening up to anybody in that sense. So anyways, through the night, I'm looking at the dance floor and I see this girl, just beautiful girl. I mean, she just, it was just weird because there's like 350, 400 people in this party, and it was just like the spotlight was just on her. And I said, Dad, I don't know. Who is this girl, And he's like, well, I don't know. Go talk to her, I'm like, take a chill, Dad. It'll be all right, So anyways, I started asking, everybody at this party, who is this girl, And the whole thing is, there's like 3-4 songs that has gone by, and she's dancing with the same guy, So, of course, I don't want to step on somebody's toes or whatever. I'm trying to see if she's engaged or, is she spoken for, or, who is she and stuff like that. So as I keep asking people, they're telling me she's not engaged and she's not married and she's single. And so I'm like, well, that's good, So where we were sitting, me and my father, we were sitting like on the same section where the bathrooms were. So we're sitting in the seats, but there's an aisleway that you would walk right by to get to the bathrooms. And by this point, here she comes. And it was like, okay, this is it, So I jumped out and I introduced myself, and I told this girl, I was like, hey, I'm eager to meet you, and I would like to dance. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to the bathroom and stuff, and I'll be back, So anyways, she had heard of my dad. What was weird is before she had been born, when we lived in Lebanon, her parents, they rented from my mom and dad. They used to live downstairs when I was little. And I remember her mom when I was a little kid. So anyways, here she comes, out of the bathroom and stuff. And as she's walking out of the bathroom, I'm like walking really fast, trying to stay up with her right behind her. And she quickly sits down, and, I grabbed her by the arm, and I'm like, hey, can we go outside and talk? And she's like, dude, I don't know where you're from, but you want to talk, sit down. And I'm like, I looked to the left and I looked to the right, and there was nowhere to sit down. So I kind of just parked in front of her, and I just started beep, 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 my name is this, I'd like to meet you. I'd like to get to know you. Is there somebody in your life, do I have an opportunity or this, that, I'm just rambling. So anyways, we danced, and it was really nice, So later we had took a car with us, and she came with her brother and her sister to this party, and her brother had gotten drunk, so they took him home. So now, she needs a ride home, and who gets to be the chauffeur? That was me. And it was like how destiny and everything was just like falling into place, and how things just happened to work out, So anyways, at this point, we ended up giving him a ride, and I'd asked her if there's if I could talk to her more, and and she had told me to come over to her house, the following day. So I was like, okay. So I dropped her off. Me and my father, we dropped them off, and then we went home. Well, that night, I couldn't sleep. It was like I tossed and turned. It was just weird. It was crazy. I felt like, I'm 33 years old, and I feel like a young school kid, with a big crush. I was like, I just couldn't go to sleep. And my dad, when we were there, it's like he would get up early every day. He'd go for his little walk, and then he'd come back, and we had like fig trees and grapes and different things like on our property over there. And he would bring me something back, and he'd make me a cup of tea. Then he'd wake me up, So this morning, my dad, he comes out of bed, and he sees me sitting on the couch, and he's like, Sam, are you okay? What's the matter? I says, Dad, I don't know. It was weird. I can't go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep. He was so happy, He's like, okay then, let's go. So my dad jumped in the shower, we got ready to go over to their house. And at that time, when we got ready and stuff, we stopped and we picked up my uncle, and he ended up going with us because he lived next door to them and he knew them. And it was like, somebody bigger in the family or something. The customs, which I really didn't know all that. But Dad said, let's pick up your uncle and we'll take him with us. So I was like, okay, good, So anyways, we get over there, and I could see like her sisters were like out of the kitchen peeking out to take a look and stuff. It was pretty cool. I was like, wow. Anyway, they made us some coffee and we were talking. And my dad, he kept, he would throw like little hints. We're talking with their dad and stuff like that. And my dad, he'd say, we came for two reasons, we wanted to kill two birds with one stone, we wanted to get my son married, hopefully, and then take care of our property over there. And right away her dad was like, hey, we would be welcome to that, but it's not in our hands. It's obviously it's in her hands, but we would welcome that. And it was like, Dad, take it easy. I like to talk to her, So at that point, I asked her father, if it was okay if we went in the other room and talked, and he was like, yeah, So, we were there for approximately 6 hours, and we just, it just flowed. We talked, about having children, getting married, all these things, And it was crazy because I felt like I'd known her forever, and I just met her the day before, but that's how it seemed, So anyway, like I said, we talked for about 6 hours and stuff, and she said, "Come on over tomorrow." I'd asked her if there was somebody in her life, and she said, "No, not really." There was somebody that was speaking, about her hand in marriage and stuff, but nothing was said or anything like that. So anyway, from that, my wife and she was studying to be a nurse. So she said, I go to school and I'll be back about 6:00. This was for Monday. And I said, okay. So now Monday was like the longest day of my life. It just, it seemed to go on forever. So at this point, I come like 6:00 or whatever, I come over, and I think she wasn't home. She got home like after I got in there, and it was like, wow, it's so good to see her and stuff, And at that point, she came and I don't know, her mom had made her some food and stuff, and she says, when she came in, so she starts eating. So I'm in the kitchen with her, and she says, so you hungry? You want to eat? And I'm like, no, but, I kind of did, but she didn't really stress it too much, In our culture, it's like, you're going to eat, you don't ask would you want to? You're here, I'm eating, sit down, let's eat. So anyways, I sat there and and she was really into her food. She was hungry, so she was eating and stuff. So after that, we got to sit down together and again, everything just flowed, And before I left, I asked her to marry me, And it was, she was like shocked. I told her, I said, listen, just, I didn't tell her that I was all in or whatever, but I was, I felt this attraction to her that just, it was like I wasn't nervous or anything. It just felt natural, between me and her. So So at this point, I says, listen, you got till Friday, to give me the answer. I would like you, I would like to take you back with me to, to America. And, if this is going to go, we need to get going on the papers and stuff. So anyways, I came over the next day, again, it was like these days are so long, and I couldn't wait to see her. So come Wednesday, we're talking, and I said, listen, I said, these days have been just so long, and I'm sure, you're the one, I don't know if I'm in love with you, but I says, I think I can fall in love with you really easy, it was crazy, but at that point, she said yes. And it was a great day. What was weird was, when she said yes, that night I was going home, from her house. And as I'm pulling into the driveway of our home over there was a song. It was a new song. I was listening to the BBC or British Broadcasting or whatever. It was all English and stuff. And they says, here's a new song by Brian Adams and Barbara Streisand. And the song was Finally Found the One. And I'm sitting in my driveway, and it was like they were singing this song about me and Anaya. And it was like, wow, it was a crazy. And I went inside, and I'm just so excited and stuff. I'm telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, listen, I just heard the song, and she said yes, and this and that, And I remember he was so excited about it, Well, this was a Wednesday. Again, we met on Saturday. This was a Wednesday when she accepted. Okay. The following Thursday, we went to the Justice of the Peace, and we got married on paper. Where they read you the vows and all that stuff, and you say yes. And what was weird is as the Justice of the Peace, he's asking me. He asked me about do you take, her on your own free will and this and all that. And, well, at the end of that, he asked me to sign, and he asked me to sign in Arabic, and it was like, I never heard this before. So he kept looking at me, and he says, well, what's the matter? You changing your mind? I says, I'm not changing my mind. I don't understand what you said, And he says, I want you to sign. So he explained to me, what it was he was asking me. Plus, I think my aunt was next to me and stuff. She says, this is what he wants you to do. I said, oh, okay. I said, no, I'm not changing my mind. This is, the happiest day of my life. And it was, Well, anyways, we ended up, got married the following Thursday. On paper. And then we started working on her paperwork. So everything had to be translated into English and stuff like that. And so from there, we ended up taking the papers. And at the time, they didn't have an embassy in Lebanon. So we had to go to Syria. So we went to Syria, and we applied, for citizenship, not citizenship, but for a visa for her to come over to the United States. And, as a trip is, this is at the end of November, or this was October of 95, that towards the end of October of 95, I think it was the 24th when we did the papers, or when we got started. And, anyways, Syria ended up saying, okay, a couple weeks later, her visa will be ready in 3 months. And at this point, it was like, no, I can't wait 3 months here, and I'm not leaving this country without my wife, So I remember the guy's like, well, we're done, and I'm like, dude, we're not done, Can you ask the ambassador to come back out, to speak to me? And she did, she came out and she said, Mr. Jahari, what can I do for you? I said, listen, I don't have 3 months, tell me what my options are. She said, well, take your money back, first of all. You can't apply here, then go apply anywhere else. She said, Mr. Jahari, we're working here for Lebanon and Syria, and we're backed up. But, I was asking her about, should I take her to Canada? She said, well, you can take her anywhere you want. But what I suggest is you go over to Cyprus. Here's a number to the embassy over there. And they're usually not backed up like we are over here. I said, okay. So I think this was a Friday. And I believe I had about 10 or 12 days left. I was supposed to leave Lebanon, I think on the 17th of November. And so at this point, I called the ambassador. It was a Friday that we got back. And this friend of mine, he gave me the phone and he let me use his phone, and I called over to Cyprus. And I asked, I talked to the ambassador and I told him of my dilemma and what I needed to do. He asked for income tax returns and stuff like that. I said, well, I don't have the income tax returns, but at the time I had my corporation papers of my business and stuff, and I had my bank account. So, that we weren't going to be going on welfare or anything like that, that I could take care of her. So he said, well, you bring me those papers and I'll have you taken care of within a week. I'm like, awesome. So come Monday morning, the following Monday, we get on the plane and we go to Cyprus. And it's not even an hour flight, to Cyprus. But we get there, and as we landed, there was an earthquake between Cyprus and Lebanon that happened in the Mediterranean Sea, And as we get off the plane, they're talking about this earthquake. It was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. So, anyways, we ended up applying that day. Then I think we came back the following day, the following Tuesday. And they said, give me a week, call us back the following Monday. Now, we had exactly 2 weeks before we were leaving Lebanon. So, at this point, the following Monday, it was a holiday. So I called them Tuesday, and they said, your visa is ready. So that Tuesday, we flew out on Wednesday, and I went and we got the visa, And at this point, I called my dad up, and I said, Dad, we got the visa. Go ahead and start, because we wanted to do a wedding, a real wedding. So it was, everybody started with the invitations and stuff like that. And it was crazy, So I called my mom, and I said, Mom, we got the visa, and my mom, she's like telling me, oh, this is not going to happen. People got to wait like a year and stuff, and I just felt like God was just opening every door possible for us, So I told my mom, I said, listen, Mom, come Monday, later that day, come pick us up from the airport. And she's like, oh, okay. At this point, she understood what I was telling her, that I did get the visa, So anyways, we got back, I think it was Thursday, and Friday night we had a party for, it was like it was a wedding party is what it was, It was pretty cool. Then the following day would be like the wedding. So Saturday it was the wedding, their traditions are kind of different, It's not like you have a party right after. Here we did the party before the wedding, but it was cool. Anyways, it was a lot of fun, and it was exciting, So Saturday when we did the wedding, people come over, they congratulate you and whatever. So afterwards, we ended up going to a hotel, and then that Sunday we came back from the hotel and we packed up our clothes and all our belongings, and Monday morning we were on a plane coming back to America. So it was like, boom, 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 and it was It was so exciting, you know. So anyways, after we came back home, you know, I think Tina dropped off Briona at my doorstep or at my home, you know, that Tuesday. We came in Monday night. Tuesday morning, Briona was at my house. It was so good to see her, you know. And 10 months had gone by that I had Briona at my home, you know. And, you know, at first she was hesitant with Anaya, you know. And I think she was a little jealous that I had somebody else in my life, you know. But we tried to include her and, you know, but the whole thing is like, you know, because when she was with me, you know, when I'd see her, she would always, you know, sleep next to me in my bed, you know, but now it's like, no, you can't sleep in the bed, you know, you have to sleep in your own room. So there was a little jealousy, but it was so good, you know, and Anaya was so good with her, and she opened up to Briona opened up to her, and there was definitely a love connection. Well, anyway, you know, about 10 months goes by, and at this point, you know, my wife was pregnant with our oldest boy, and and I took a job working for Schwann's ice cream. And anyways, I was working for Schwann's, and I was still doing the closet organizers too, but I wanted to I needed insurance and stuff, so that's why I worked for Schwann's. So you know, like I said, 10 months later, before this, I think after Brad was born, it was like a month or two. You know, Tina had called me a couple weeks before that, and she had asked me for money. And I said, Tina, why do I want to give you money? You know, well, you know, you're supposed to be giving me child support. I said, listen, I give you child support to take care of my baby, but I'm taking care of the baby, you know. I'm taking care of my daughter. I don't ask you for anything, you know. And no judge had ever put for me to pay child support. I was giving you $50 a week, you know, to help take care of our kid. But if I have the baby, why am I going to give you money? Well, she didn't like that too much. You know, a couple weeks after I talked to her, I come home one day from work, and she had came with the sheriff, you know, went into a judge, and told him that I was going to steal the baby, take her overseas. So you know, they came and took her. So at this point, you know, it's like, okay, you started this fight, you know, enough is enough. I mean, I had her, you know, I knew she was all right. She was being taken care of, but I knew that Tina was doing drugs, and she was out on the street and all this stuff, because I had bought the car for her, and every now and then it would they would pick her up or whatever, and they would confiscate the car, and I had to get it out, you know, it's my money and stuff like that. But at this point, at the last time, you know, that this happened, I says, I'm not going to get you the car or whatever. You know, the car is still in my name. You don't have any insurance, and, you know, I got the baby. So at that point, you know, I knew I needed to get Briona away from her. So I hired an attorney, and the first thing is I wanted to make sure that she was my child, because when Tina would be mad at me, she would say, well, she's not even yours anyway, you know. So I you know, we got the test, you know, and she came back, she's my child. And from there, I was going in for, you know, 50-50 custody at the time. But when I started with you know, when I started with everything, I found out that Tina was really bad, And at the time that she had the baby, people would call me that she was staying with or whatever, and they'd tell me that Tina's in, she's doing drugs and she's in bad shape. She can't really take care of the baby, why don't you take her away from her? So at that point, we ended up going for full custody, and it wasn't a very good, they say, well, you find justice in the court system. You don't find justice in the court system. It's all how the judge, how he portrays to the law, I guess. It's not like there's a certain law and they all abide by this law. It's how each of these judges, it's how they interpret the law. And, here's a lady that had track marks on her arms and full-blown drug addict, not doing good. But this judge, she let her keep the baby, and Tina was supposed to go get help, was supposed to go to rehab and stuff. It was like she was given every opportunity to do the right thing, where I was looked at as the biggest piece of shit or whatever. And really, because she had told him that I was going to steal the baby, that's how I was looked at. That, well, I had to turn in my passport. And anyways, within a couple weeks, of going in front of this judge and stuff, just 10 minutes maybe each time that we went in front of her, she finally seen that I was the better parent. I'm the one that had my shit together, and where this baby was going to go and be taken care of. So anyway, I ended up getting full custody, and Tina would get, she had supervised visits. And once I got the custody, Tina pretty much just went her way on, to the drug scene, and she was in and out of prison, county jails or rehabs or whatever. And what would happen is every now and then, Tina would get clean for a month or two or whatever, and she would come into our life and disrupt everything that we had, taught this child. From she's not your mom, your dad is this, it's like, instead of being happy that her mom or her daughter had a good home, and not needing anything, and just need her support and her love, but that's not what happened. Even there was one time where Tina had gotten married, to somebody just more for the money, she'd have these sugar daddies every time that, would give her money when she was in prison or whatever, or when she got out, they'd give her a home and stuff like that. Well, she ended up marrying one, just so she can take me into court and try to get custody of Briona, which was always a failure. But, it seemed like every 3-4 years, I would have to go into court. $3,000 to $5,000 later, I get to keep Briona. And the whole thing is, Briona struggled with that, she wanted to be loyal to her mom, but again, she didn't know what to do. Here she was loving her stepmom, and called her mom, but her mom would come in and say, she's not your mom, I'm your mom. Whatever. She would just confuse her and stuff like that. So Briona struggled with that. And I always had Briona in therapy, to help her, because I just felt like I didn't understand things, and I took her to a professional that would understand, more of what she was feeling or what she was going through. When the day she was born, the nurse, she put her in my arms and she said, they don't come with directions, just love them. And I loved her more than anything. And what I didn't know, I would try to get, somebody that professional, to help her, So, anyways, at one time, Brianna, she played sports. She played, she loved soccer, and she was like the second or third year into her soccer, and the coach, it was a volunteer AYSO program, so it's not like the coaches were getting paid or whatever, you know, but she had this lady that just everything was good job, good job, good job, and really wasn't teaching nothing, wasn't, showing them what they're doing wrong. Everything isn't a good job if you just got scored on. So I went to open my mouth this one day, and my wife, she says, you got to remember, she's volunteering for this, and, don't open your mouth unless you're willing to volunteer. And it was like, I'm willing to volunteer, what the hell? And I coached her, and that was some of the best times of my life, and Briona was good. She's a lot better than she wanted to be, or she was happy with being third best, fourth best on the team, but she had the ability to be top, but she was content with that. Anyways, I ended up coaching her for I think approximately about 5 years till she was youth 12, youth 13, and we always had very good seasons. Well, when Brianna became a teenager, now she's digging on boys, and we didn't click on that end, and I remember, I think in 8th grade, I don't know, there was some dance or something, and she said, Daddy, this boy wants to take me to this dance. And I said, well, you tell this boy to come over so I can meet him, Daddy, I said, well, that's the only way you're going to go to the dance with him, And the guy came, he introduced himself, he was, I was happy about that. And, shake him up a little bit, put some fear in him, hey, I'm the daddy. I'm the protector, but I remember Brianna was very gifted, or she had big bosoms, and really you couldn't hide them. And I remember when we went looking for dresses, and she would pick these dresses left and right, Daddy, how's this? How's this? And God bless him. I mean, her chests are just sticking right out, But she finally found this dress, and it was pink, and she was just so beautiful, and I could tell she loved this dress, As soon as she put it on, she goes, Daddy, I really like this dress. And I'm like, I really like it too. She goes, you do? I don't, I'm not showing too much. I said, Daddy, God blessed you with these things. I mean, we can't hide them, they're there. So, but you look good, she didn't look cheap or whatever. The dress looked great, and I miss those days, Anyways, Brianna in 9th grade, or 8th grade, at the end of the year they had a graduation, and it was recognizing the 8th graders, and it's kind of like it wasn't awards, but it was just recognizing them. And it was like a special day for them. So I remember Brianna and her mom hadn't talked, but they had just started talking again like a month prior, and Tina had relapsed and she had overdosed, but because I know that Brianna, she didn't like me to know everything, but she would spill it out, because one day I went into her room, and it was like 11 o'clock, and it was like, Brianna, why are you still up, And she's like, I'm just waiting for my mom to call me so I can go to bed, And later I found out that's why, her mom had overdosed, and she was worried about her. So anyways, on her graduation, her mom got to come, and at that point, um, now in eighth grade, actually, Brianna was doing debate and other things, and she was just she was very good at it. And really, the reasons that she started debate, because she was in the newspaper, and the lady had asked her, what got you to start in debate, and her thing was, I wanted to learn how to argue with my dad. So everything, when she did that, everything was an open debate. And every now and then, I'd have to put my foot down and say, listen, there's no debate, And the big thing is like, Daddy, when do I get to start dating? And I'd say, when you're 30 and out of the house. And Daddy, really, when can I date? I tell her, I'm serious, It just, I knew this was something new, and I didn't know how to get there yet. But anyways, at the dance, I was very proud of this kid. He showed like he's a young man, and he came, and they ended up going to this dance, and it worked out really good. As a matter of fact, I just seen this kid at this open house not too long ago. Fine young man he turned out to be. And so, after the graduation, Tina had came to that a couple weeks into it. I think it was, I want to say June 15th. I don't know if that's her birthday or sometime in June that I got the call that Tina had overdosed. And, I had to tell my daughter that her mom had passed away. And, she just broke down and cried. And this was what I was afraid of, and this and that, But I was very proud of her, the way she handled it. And she ended up giving her mom, the eulogy. And, in it, Brianna always hated drugs. And in the eulogy, she looked over at everybody, at all her mom's friends and family, and she says, this is what drugs do. People die. This is no life, Don't let this be a reason for you to go out and use tonight. Because you see, when you're an addict, any little reason is a reason for you to go out and use. You see, the whole thing is, what I find that people that are addicts, there's something in them. There's something in them that's troublesome, or they don't want to deal with. It's just a lot of pain for them to deal with it. And what happens is, when you use or you get high, you cover up that pain. You don't have to deal with it. And so that's just what I think. I'm not a professional, but just talking to people and getting educated, that's in the addiction field or whatever, I guess that's what I find. They're just, addicts are 10%, and there's something lacking in them. They're just inapt about something. And talking to different addicts, there's something that's troubling them. Okay? Well, anyways, 2 years into it, after Brianna's mom died, Brianna, she meets an older boy. And, Brianna all of a sudden starts skipping school and sneaking out at night and, getting in all kinds of trouble. And from there, I turned to a system to help me. And I found that they didn't have a clue. And really, the system looked back at me like I was to blame. As a parent, they weren't there to help, but they were there to treat you like you've done something wrong. And they were not only as the parent did something wrong, but they were looked at upon the child as a criminal. That's how I felt, you know. I just felt like they let me down big time. You know, it's like as a runaway, you call the sheriff or the police department, and they just come and they take, you know, what happened. We're not going to go out looking for them, but if we happen to pick them up, then we'll call you. That's a lot of help, huh? That's, I don't know. You know, what did you do wrong as a parent for your kid to run away? That's how they look at you. Okay. Well, you know, I found out my daughter was using drugs, and not just regular drugs. You know, before even to this point, when she started experimenting with alcohol and pain pills and stuff like that, you know, well, Briona was bipolar. Okay, she's self-medicating. Well, I mean, I didn't get the difference, you know, of her self-medication or from the medication that was given to her by a doctor. I didn't really understand it, okay? But from there, Briona just went through a whirlwind, and all of a sudden now she's using heroin. And, you know, Briona went through the system. She went through the detention center and went through rehabs, and Briona ended up overdosing. And 2 years of hell. That's how I look at it. Briona started when she was 15, and Valentine's Day 2011. Sorry. Valentine's Day 2011. Briona overdosed. And this used to be called Community Parent, and the program was called Chasing the Dragon. But you know, from when I go into schools and I tell Briona's story, I say, listen, it's not, I don't want people to remember her as an addict that died, but from her story, how many people she saved. And I can tell you that I know we've saved quite a few. Okay. We've been in front of over 50,000 kids, and that's Briona's legacy. This is Briona's legacy. And we went from chasing the dragon to we're not chasing the dragon anymore. We're slaying that sucker. We want to take its head off and get rid of addiction once and for all. And it's a big fight. And this is just the beginning. Hopefully, you know, I'm going to get to a point where I'll say I've been in front of over 1 million kids. Just to give you a little update, you know, last week, the New York Police Department got the biggest bust ever. They had found over $50 million worth of heroin and took it off the street. Congratulations, New York City Police Department. I just want to say that if $50 million came off the street, how much is getting through? And you can bet probably triple that, if not more. You know, why is heroin getting so big again? Well, I look at it this way. We've had this war on drugs since 1970s. You know, I remember, I think it was President Nixon, this war on drugs. And this war on drugs just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, more prisons, more police force, more judges, more. But this war ain't going away. it's gotten bigger and bigger also, you know. And the way I look at it, it's all they really care about is the money and not really about curing anybody or taking care of anybody, you know. Over 70% of all drug addicts, okay, they have a mental health issue, bipolar, depression, whatever, okay. And only in America do we lock people that are sick away. I think, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we pretty much went away from the mental health aspect of it, all the way around. And, you know, I'm not a professional. I'm just a father that lost a child that has opened his eyes, you know, to what's going on around me, for the first time, really, you know, because I didn't want to deal with issues. I avoided, you know, let somebody else deal with it or let somebody else handle it. But I lost my child, and I just can't wait on somebody else to change something or to do something different. Because here's the thing. Since the 70s, you know, the drugs are getting more and more, okay? Nothing is really changing, okay? So, you know, an idiot or a jackass, I mean, he learns from the first time not to do something again or to look at a different route or whatever. Well, in our system, we keep doing the same thing, you know, and nothing is changing or getting any better. I don't see it. It's getting worse and worse. And why is it getting so much worse? Well, we have the drug companies, you know, here's all they care about is their bottom line or how much money they can make. They really don't give a shit about you or me or anybody else. It's all about their bottom line. And, you know, why is heroin getting so much bigger? 4 out of 5 heroin users, okay, they start on prescription drugs. Here I talked about 10%, you know, that's why it's looked on about our government and stuff like that. They say it's only 10% of the people that are addicts. But 10% that we're all affected by it. Everybody, okay? So that's 100%. 10% are affected or infected, put it that way. 10% are addicts, okay? But it affects everybody. I don't care where you live or where you come from, what nationality you are, how much money is in your pocket, or what you drive, or, you know, how big your house is. Everybody is affected. And this disease and this addiction, it hits every family all around us. This is in Fenton. This is in Lake Fenton. This is in Linden. This is in Davison. This is in Grand Blanc. This is in Flint. This is in every community. In every community. It doesn't matter how big your house is. But here, when you got money, you can sweep things under the carpet all you want to. And you can say it's not happening in your home because I've been there. But it affects everybody. And the only way we can come up with a solution is by uniting and everybody coming together for a cause that's worthwhile. You know, when the Ebola came out, it was a big uproar. Oh my gosh. One person died in our country. And, you know, the president, he put a czar, you know, for Ebola. They made these hospitals and all these things. I don't know how much money they spent on it, okay? But they were never used. But here we have addicts. We have people that are dying. 328 people die every day. every day, and we've got our eyes closed. We don't want to hear what's happening. And it's like this, for every person that dies, out of the 328 that die every day, we might hear of one. One. Why? It's all hush hush. A lot of times as a family, you don't want nobody to know I lost my child because he was an addict. Or I lost my brother or my sister or my mother or my father. Because you see, this epidemic, there's a stigma that falls behind it. You're looked on as a piece of shit or, like a loser. But I'll have you know that the face of the addict has changed. It's not like what you remember of the 70s or whatever. Okay, these are some of the smartest, some of some of these kids that are really going somewhere in life, and they get hooked and they lose it all. It's like, I remember in school, there's not always the most talented that end up going to college or end up on the professional basketball or football or whatever. There's those that get hurt or, that decide to experiment, and it ends up being their demise. As a teenager, we all been there. We go to parties, we'll try alcohol, before we're at the age, or we might smoke marijuana, or I'm not telling you to do this, but this is actual life. This is what happens, okay? And 1 out of 10 will go to a party and they will be addicted, okay? Those people that play sports, 10 will get hurt. All will be given Vicodins or something for their pain, some opiate. 1 out of those 10 will become addicted. That's 10%. Why is that? Well, I'd say 60 to 70%, okay, this is our genes that we inherit. That this is an inheritance that we get from a family member. And the other 30% are just the environment that we live in. Well, this is just what I learned just in the 4 years of, talking to this one and talking to this one. What's going on with these professionals? That they're supposed to be a lot more knowledgeable. Why aren't we doing something different? Well, okay. Here we have doctors, these professionals that are taught through these drug companies. What happened is in the 80s, the drug companies, they came out and they says, well, you know what? We're losing a lot of money on these pain pills. We're only giving them out to people that are dying. So they looked at things differently, okay? So you go into a doctor's office, and what do you see on their chart? You see a smiley face to the frown face. Where is your pain level from 1 to 10? I'm not coming in for pain. I'm coming in because I got a cold, but they want to know where my pain level is. So the drug companies now, they're making all this money. But what's happening is they didn't know the long effects because they were giving these opiates to people that were dying to make them feel comfortable at their ends. If they were addicted or if they weren't, they died. So it didn't matter. But now, the whole thing is all these companies that make these drugs, here in the United States, we absorb 95% of them. 95%. All the world, only take the other 5%? That's crazy. That's somewhere where we need to look and say, you know what? Something's not right here. We're losing people here. People are getting addicted. Good people. You can stand by the sideline and say it's not happening. You can keep your head in the sand and say it's not happening. But I'm here to tell you it's happening. And we, as a people, need to wake up and say we want something different for our people, our kids that are coming up. We want something different. You know, a lot of times people don't want to open their mouth because they're afraid what this one's going to say and this one's going to say, you know. You want to be politically correct. Bullshit. I say bullshit. You know, what makes this country great is our freedoms, the freedom of speech, you know. Don't be afraid of the right thing, to do the right thing. And I'm here to tell you that Briona's legacy isn't going away. And 50,000 kids have seen our presentation, and our first goal is over 1 million. You know, I walked into a restaurant 2 weeks ago, and it was late, and I could see they were cleaning up and stuff, you know. I said, well, we'll just get something to go. And as this girl is taking my order and stuff, you know, she says, Mr. Jahari, I just want you to know, you know, you changed my life. It caught me off guard, you know. I said, excuse me? She said, I seen your presentation at this school, and you changed my life. Thank you. And that's such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. That's why Briona's legacy. That's why, you know, we go into the schools. I tell you, every time I do the presentation, I feel like I'm reliving her death. I feel like I'm going to bury her on that day again. I don't do it for me because it hurts like hell. It's like an open wound that just, you know, gets cut over and over and over. But I do it for you, for the listeners, because hopefully, you know, you can see that there's hope. And I'm not giving up on you. I'm here to make a change. I'm here to make a stand. I'm here not to be politically correct, but to tell you the way it is. I don't sugarcoat nothing. Because here's what drugs do. They make you become a liar, a thief, the worst piece of shit there is. Because you're not thinking. See, this drugs has got your brain. And all you care about is how do you get this drugs. And you're willing to do anything and everything for it. And for those of you that it's not even happening in your home, or you don't think so, or you just got your eyes closed, you don't want to see the truth, I'm telling you to stand up with me. Stand up and let's fight. Let's fight. Because this war on drugs, this is the beginning. This is the beginning. It's not our government's fight. It's our fight. And this fight we cannot lose. My name is Sam Jahari, and this is All Points TV, Briona's Legacy. And I'm asking you to join me in this fight because you see, one hand doesn't clap by itself. And I need all of you to join me. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I will see you next week. Same place, same time, all right? AllPointsTV.com. Thank you, and God bless.